That's why when we have house programs, actually it's sweeter than having big programs, because it's not possible to interact like we do here actually. So please come together and we can chant Krishna's names. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hari Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhav ki Jai Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Mai ki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Srila Gurudeva ki Ananta Gauri Vaishnavinda ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Nitai Gaura Premanande. So we want to actually look at Srimad Bhagavatam. We will look at 799. I was thinking today what to speak on, but as I came, I realized that this verse is very nice. So if you can look into your devices, I didn't have time to make copies. 799 of Srimad Bhagavatam is a very good verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nasta Praeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So let's chant. Manye Dhana Vijana Rupa Tapashrutauja Teja Prabhava Bala Paurusha Buddhi Yogaha Naradanaya Hi Bhavanti Parasya Pumso Bhaktya Tutosha Bhagavan Gajayutapaya Manye Dhana Vijana Rupa Tapashrutauja Teja Prabhava Bala Paurusha Buddhi Yogaha Naradanaya Hi Bhavanti Parasya Pumso Bhaktya Tutosha Bhagavan Gajayutapaya Manye Dhana Vijana Rupa Tapashrutauja Teja Prabhava Bala Paurusha Buddhi Yogaha Naradanaya Hi Bhavanti Parasya Pumso Bhaktya Tutosha Bhagavan Gajayutapaya. Can we have devotees chanting?
Manye Dhana
Vijana Rupa Tapashrutauja Teja Prabhava Bala Paurusha Buddhi Yoga Naradanaya Hi Bhavanti Parasya Pumso Bhaktya Tutosha Bhagavan Gajayutapaya. Mataji's?
Manye Dhana Vijana Rupa Tapashrutauja
Manye Dhana Vijana Rupa Tapashrutauja
Teja Prabhava Bala Paurusha Buddhi Yoga
Teja Prabhava Bala Paurusha Buddhi Yoga
Naradanaya Hi Bhavanti Parasya Pumso
Naradanaya Hi Bhavanti Parasya Pumso
Bhaktya Tutosha Bhagavan Gajayutapaya
Bhaktya Tutosha Bhagavan Gajayutapaya. Manye, I consider Dhana, riches, Abhijana, aristocratic family, Rupa, personal beauty, Tapaha, austerity, Shruta, knowledge from studying the Vedas. Ojaha, sensory prowess. Tejaha, bodily effulgence. Prabhava, influence. Bhala, bodily strength. Paurusha, diligence. Buddhi, intelligence. Yogaha, mystic power. Na, not. Aradhanaya, for satisfying. He, indeed. Bhavanti, Parasya, of the transcendent. Pumsaha, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhaktya, simply by devotional service. Tutosha, was satisfied. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Gajayuta Paya, unto the King of Elephants. Gajendra. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Please repeat the translation. Prahlad Maharaj continued. One may possess wealth, an aristocratic family, beauty, austerity, education, sensory expertise, luster, influence, physical strength, diligence, intelligence, and mystic yoga power. But I think that even by all these qualifications, one cannot satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, one can satisfy the Lord simply by devotional service. Gajendra did this, and thus the Lord was satisfied with him. Please hear the purport. No kind of material qualification is the means for satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, only by devotional service can the Lord be known. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Unless the Lord is pleased by the service of a devotee, the Lord does not reveal Himself. Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavritaha. Unless the Lord is pleased by the service of a devotee, the Lord does not reveal Himself. This is the verdict of all sastras. Neither by speculation nor by material qualification can one understand or approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So we want to thank Prashant Prabhu. Mataji, thank you very much for having us over. We're very happy to see so many devotees join us. Some of you look familiar, very familiar. And some of you, I have not met you, but I'm happy to meet you now. Thank you. Prashant Prabhu, I know him as someone who has taste for kirtan. So I shouldn't speak too long, but we should do more kirtan because I think he likes that. But it's nice to start the day with bhagavatam, even though it's quite late in the day. Still, it's good to start the day that way. This verse is very important verse because it tells us something which is very unique to bhakti. When you are in Vedic culture, you will find that when we are raised in Vedic culture, there is always the tendency to become expert in some things, especially when you want to do havans and you want to do yajnas. If you study the Vedas and you look at Karmakand and Jnanakand, all these portions, right, you will realize that there's a lot of qualifications that are needed for us to be able to do something. For example, if today was not a program, and today you had called Purohit and he had come to do the yajna, then so many things have to be done. So many things have to be qualified before you can perform something. And sometimes you all know, you don't have to go so far. If you have had Sudarshan Prabhu in your house, you will know how many things he will say, this is not right, that is not right. The standards are very high. And after a while you'll be thinking, I can't do this, It's very difficult. And sometimes he has given you a list. And then after you take the list in, you'll say, no, but this is missing. And that's when your blood pressure starts going up because you don't know what to do. So everyone who tells me, including him, he himself tells me that every time there is these havans, actually it is a stressful situation. But actually today coming together to hear Bhagavatam, nobody has stress. Maybe Prashant Prabhu and Mataji have stress just to get everything together. But for us, no, there's no stress. You all just got up, you got ready, you chanted, and now you walk in. And best part is after program, after kirtan, he will give you prasad. So there's no stress. But for havans, you have to earn your prasad. Because you have to go through the fire, you have to go through everything, and if you survive, then you have prasad. So the point is, we are very caught up with this idea. Very often, the large portion of our Hindu and Vedic culture, right, imposes on us some idea of qualification. And forget that, even in the social fabric of society, whether you are part of a belief or not belief system, all these material qualities are supposed to be indicators of success. Isn't it true? We always look at all these things. There are 13 qualities here. And if you look at all these 13 qualities, everyone in this material world, they want to have these qualities. Wealth, everybody wants wealth. People want aristocracy, high birth. Sometimes, even though now, even though we are coming from a system where we feel everybody is created equal, still if you have a thread, for example, at some point or another you want to tell people I have a thread. Or if you come from some kind of background which is aristocratic, it is not difficult for you to think that I am qualified on account of aristocracy. So we are always thinking along those things. If we are very educated, we think we are qualified. If we are very austere, we can do a lot of things, we can fast long time, we think we are very expert and we are qualified. If we think we look nice, for example, we think everyone is looking at us, therefore we are very qualified. So all these qualifications here, actually Prahlad Maharaj is chanting this verse. And he says in this verse that all these qualifications, there may be qualifications and they are necessary maybe in material world, but ultimately they do not actually satisfy Krishna. And why is that important to us? Because all our sastras tell us that until you satisfy Krishna, you cannot satisfy yourself. It's a simple equation. If you really want to become satisfied, you have to satisfy the root of the tree. If you try to pour water on the leaf, on the plant, on the flowers, the tree is not nourished. So our tree of life, of existence is Krishna. Krishna is known as Ishwaraha Parama Krishnaha, right? Satchit Ananda Vigraha. All qualities of Sat, truth, all qualities of consciousness, Chit, all qualities of bliss, Krishna, Ananta, they all come from his form, which is Vigraha. So Krishna is Ishwaraha. And not only is he the controller, he is Parama, he is supreme controller. So nothing can move without Krishna's sanction. And therefore even our satisfaction is ultimately dependent on him. You see the logic is very clear, you see. If he is the source of everything, then even our satisfaction is actually tagged to him. If he is satisfied, we automatically become satisfied. So therefore, once we understand that principle, then we realize that whatever we are amassing in the house, whatever we are amassing in our lives, whatever cumulative experience of material qualification we may have, they actually have no value if they are not used in his service, if they are not used to satisfy him. This is a very important point. That is why the principle of bhakti is somehow or another, right? We have to remember Krishna and we must never forget Krishna. That is the principle. And the other principle is whatever that we have, we should use it for Krishna. If we use whatever we have for Krishna's service, then two things come forward from nectar of devotion. The two side effects are that we will always not be caught by the implications of this work. And the second thing is that we actually become purified by our senses. Our own senses become purified. And senses will purify us. This is a very important point. Otherwise, normally senses drag us down, isn't it? When the senses are there and they are not used for Krishna, they drag us down. But when the senses are used for Krishna, in this atmosphere now, last 15 minutes we chanted, now we are trying to put our mind onto the lotus feet of Krishna. You will realize the atmosphere in the house is changing. It is already, your atmosphere in the mind is changing also. Because you are hearing a topic which has nothing to do with material nature. So that's why Prahlad Maharaj is such a great devotee, and his observation in 799 is very important to us. Because we are so caught up in society where we judge each other. We measure each other based on our material qualification. We may come to devotional service, but even then we will measure each other with material qualification. Oh, his dhoti is the best. His kurta is very nice. Oh, his tilak is very sharp, Oh, his hairstyle is very nice. Something like that, Or her sari is not very appropriate. Or too much jewelry is there. I hear people telling me these things. They come and tell me these things. One Mataji came and told me, Prabhu, this Mataji, you have to tell her something. I said, what? She's putting too much jewelry. What am I to tell her? Why should I tell her that? It's an amazing thing, you see. I said, Mataji, but why are you looking at her jewelry? Then she thought, yeah, actually, why am I looking at the jewelry? So whose fault is it now? Is it the walk-in jewelry shop or the person looking at the jewelry shop? This is the problem, you see. It's a problem. I remember early on in Lakshman Temple, when we were just a few of us in the early programs. Last time Lakshman Temple, they were very strict. The men would be in front and the ladies have to be behind, right? And then what happened was all the ladies were behind. And then one day one devotee came to me and said, some of the Matajis who are coming for temple, they are putting lipstick, they are putting eye makeup and all these things. So you cannot allow that. So I said, why don't you call Maharaj and tell him that? I don't want to get involved. So he called Maharaj, my Guru Maharaj in Dwarka. And Maharaj asked him, where are these ladies? He said, Maharaj, they're behind me. So Maharaj said, if they're behind you, how come you know what lipstick they wear? And what eye makeup they're putting? How come? If they're in front, it's okay. But they're behind. Where is Krishna? Oh, Krishna is in front. So how you are looking behind? You see? So actually we in the midst of trying to be very, proud of what we have and looking down on others that they are not qualified, we forget that by looking like this, we are not qualified. We are not qualified. Why are we so bothered with the externalities? If the internal mechanism is wrong, why look at the externalities? Why do we judge people the way they look? It is because of this 799. So it's much deeper than just, beauty is not important, this is not important. It's not important to you when you don't have it. But when you have it, it's very important to you. When you don't have it, you become what we call sour grapes. You've heard of the Aesop's fable. The fox tried to get the grapes, couldn't get it. Then he said, the grapes are sour. I don't like it. In India, we have the same story. Someone wanted to sleep on a nice bed, right? But he couldn't get a bed. So he said, the floor is very good. I'm sadhu, I'm sleeping on the floor. Actually, it's because he couldn't get the bed, not because he was sadhu. So, it's two ways. You may become attached to material qualification if you have it. But you can become envious of others when you don't have it. Either way, you are attached to it. That's the point. Either way, you are attached to it. When you don't have something, actually you become very attached to it on the grounds of envy and frustration. Because others have it, you see, I don't have it. That's the problem, But when we have it, then we think, all the others are inferior to us. That is also a problem. That's why Prahlad Maharaj is saying that either way, Prabhus and Matajis, whether you have it or you don't have it, whether you are the haves or the have-nots, material qualifications will not satisfy Krishna. That is the point here. You see the point, right? It doesn't satisfy Krishna. And we are only in the business of satisfying Krishna. If we cannot satisfy Krishna, we don't want something. So sometimes the golden rule in life is very simple. I want something, but if I realize it doesn't satisfy Krishna, then better I don't want it, because it is not necessary. That thing that you keep in your house which satisfies Krishna, that thing will bring you happiness. It's a very simple equation. That relationship that you have which is connected to Krishna, that relationship, if it's connected, will bring you happiness. That object that you have, if it is connected to Krishna, right now it is, right? Because we are all looking at the verse with the iPhone. It's very valuable. But if we are not using it, this iPhone is going to drag you down. Because we are watching so many things which is not related to Krishna. And we don't realize it has an impact on us. It does. Slowly, 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 it takes us further, further, further away from Krishna. We don't realize that. So that's why he's saying all these things are good, but ultimately they are not very useful. And so he ends here by saying very nicely that the only thing that will actually satisfy Krishna is devotional service. That's all. Just very nice, simple, enthused devotional service. And that is what you are doing now. You are hearing, Shravanam. Shranavanti, Gayanti, Grananti, Abhishnashaha. Right? That's what Kunti Mata says. Shravanti, Gayanti, Grananti, Abhishnashaha. Smaranti, Nandanti, Tavehitam Janaha. Ta eva pashyanti, Achirena Tavakam, Bhava Pravaho, Paramam Padambujam. So nicely she says, Krishna, those who hear, those who chant, Those who hear, those who repeat, right? Because you're repeating what you're hearing, that means you're chanting. And those who remember. And those who take pleasure in others doing so. If you can't do these three things, at least don't be jealous of those who are doing it. You know, if you can't sing, never mind. But if someone can sing, don't find fault in the person. If someone can put nice tilak and you can't, don't blame the person for something. Take pleasure that they are doing it. If you take pleasure in someone doing something for Krishna, Shastras tell us you get the benefit of that person doing it. Do you know that? That is the secret of Nandanti. That is the secret of Nandanti. So if I'm very fallen in devotional service, my mind, my consciousness is very bad, but I drag myself to the program and I take pleasure in hearing kirtan, even though my consciousness is not good, and I take pleasure in others doing it, right? I will get the same thing that person is doing. That is why Kunti Mata throws in that last point. Those who hear, those who repeat, and those who remember, right? And those who take pleasure in others doing so. What happens? Ta eva pashyanti achirena tavakam. In no time you can see Krishna. You can see Krishna. See how broad devotional service is. Even if you cannot, even you can't do some things. Laddu Gopal deity is so beautiful, so well taken care of. Now, if we can't do this in our house, but we come to this house and we see, oh, this is amazing, we should not become envious. If we are saying, this is so beautiful, I wish I could do this, exactly what Prabhu is doing and Mataji is doing in taking care of Laddu Gopal, you are getting it. Because you are not envious. And that is the secret of coming away from material qualification. And those who do that, then Prahlad Maharaj says, you can satisfy Krishna. And how do you satisfy Krishna? Simply by devotional service. The word simply is very used by Prabhupada. Simply means two things. Simply means only by devotional service, right? But simply also means you do it in a simple manner. Don't complicate your devotional service. Sometimes we add so many things, just to do something, isn't it? Everything is very simple, but we add certain things. You have to do certain things before you chant, You have to do something. Some people tell me in the morning, Prabhu, I want to chant 16 rounds, but I cannot. And I ask, why? Why you can't? Thank you. Yeah. Actually, you don't have to worry about garlands. It's okay. So people sometimes they wake up from Mangala Aarti, then they tell me, I cannot chant my 16 rounds. I said, why? Because when I get up, right, when I think I have to go take bath, I go to sleep again. Because taking bath for me takes half an hour. And by the time I finish bath, I have to sit down properly, I have to wear nice dhoti, kurta, then I must chant. It will take you 1 hour to do that. But what Krishna consciousness tells you is, you do the chanting. That's more important. More important. If you're struggling with bath just to chant, you just get up, next to you there's bead bag, right? Quickly brush your teeth. Brushing teeth won't take half an hour, unless I don't know what kind of teeth you have. 5 minutes you brush your teeth, right? And then you pour some water on your face, and then you get up, take the beads and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. At least 1 hour you are chanting. Then you're in proper mind, you go and take your bath. And keep that 10 minutes only. What's the problem? You see? So this is how our mind tells us you have to do all this before you can chant. But you will never get to chant. You have to do all this before I can do bhagavatam. You never study bhagavatam. Some people say bhagavatam is very high level. I studied it, when I'm 55 years old. You may die when you're 54. Then what happens then? It's a waste. Whatever that you have, use it now. We live in an imperfect world, but we are striving for perfection. That is the craziness of this material world. We are imperfect. Our senses are all defective. And yet we are striving for perfection, which we can never attain. But Krishna is not interested in your material qualifications and perfection. He's not. He is interested in your heart. He is interested in your attempt. He is interested in your effort. That is why he is Bhavagrahi Janardana. He looks to the essence of your devotional mentality. That's what he does. A rat just passed by a lamp that was going to go off, that was lit for the Lord. But because the rat's whisker got caught by the fire, it reignited that lamp. And because of that, the rat was liberated. It's not that the rat was going there to light the lamp. It was not. It's a rat, But it did a service, whether consciously, unconsciously, it did it. And it survived. It's a very important point. Very important point. I want to tell you one very nice point that Rupa Goswami gives us, in Padyavali, which is a very beautiful gathering of shlokas. He says this nice point. Vyadasya charanam dhruvasya chavayo vidya gajendrasya kha kubjayati kim unamarupam adhikam kim ta sudharmo dhanam vamsati ko vidurasya yadavapatir vyavasya kim purusham bhaktya tushyati kevalam nacha gunai bhakti priyo madhava. It's a very beautiful shloka. And Rupa Goswami tells the same thing that Prahlad Maharaj says. He supports the same point. And he says very nice. Where was the hunter dharma's piety? This is his first question. Where? You all know the story of the hunter Dharma from Mahabharata? This Dharma was a hunter. But before he came into the picture, there was a Brahmana known as Kaushika. And this Brahmana, Kaushika, was very proud of his Brahmanical piety. And he became a Brahmana because he abandoned his parents when they needed him. And he went to the forest and became full-time. And he gave up everything, but he gained great yogic powers. This is Kaushika. One day when he was very proud of his material qualifications, he was sitting under a tree when a bird dropping, fell on his head. He looked up at the bird, and because he was so angry with the bird, how can you touch me, such a qualified person? He immediately decided, just by looking at the bird, he actually killed the bird. And the bird passed on. It just passed on. So Kaushika then became very afraid. What have I done? I'm supposed to be Brahmana, but I've killed the bird like that. So he decided, let me go and do Madhukari. So he went to the village. And there he went to one lady who was waiting actually for her husband to come back. And while she was waiting, he came there and said, please give me some food, because it was custom. So she went inside. She was going to get food for him when her husband came in. And then she said, you have to wait, because my first dharma, right, as a wife, is to give food to my husband. So I will do that because he is my husband. Now Kaushika became angry and said, how dare you do this to me? He came there to repent. But again he thought, I'm very qualified. How can someone treat me like that? And you know what she told him? I'm not a crow for you to curse me and die. And then Kaushika thought, how does she know that there was a crow? I'm the Brahmana. I have the power to see things. This is just an ordinary lady. She's nothing. How can she know? Then he became a bit humble. Then he said, how do you know this? She said, I know this because I am performing my dharma of serving my husband. And that dharma has made me very powerful. You should learn what dharma is and what real dharma is from the hunter dharma. And he thought, from the hunter I should know. Who is this hunter? He thought, let me go and see the hunter. So he went to the city of Mithila. And there he saw the hunter dharma. And he was very shocked because the hunter dharma was a hunter. He was killing animals. So he asked the hunter, what can you teach me that is greater? And the hunter said, don't think that you know more than the lady whom you met. And now he thought, how come he knows the lady whom I met, and the lady knew the crow that I killed? So he asked the hunter, how dharma you know this lady? How do you know this lady? He said, I know this lady because I may be very imperfect. I may have to perform this dharma, but I am performing a paro dharma, which is higher than this. And that paro dharma is that daily I am praying to the Lord that I should stop my sinful activities. I am praying very hard that I should find an activity that will take me away from this. That is my paro dharma. That is my paro dharma. And because he said that, Kaushika's heart became more open. And he said, what was wrong in what I did? I became Brahmana, high parentage, education, Shruti, everything I have. What is wrong with what I've done? And he said, because in your lifetime, you abandoned the dharma of serving your parents. You just left them and you went away for your own self. And that has caught you. And because you think you're materially qualified, you have not learned the essence of life. And so when that happened, Kaushika went immediately back to serving his parents. And in due time, all his great pride that comes from these material qualifications, it ended. It ended. And he then came to understand that Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo. We all may have different dharmas, but we have one common dharma. And that dharma is Yathor Bhakti Radoksaji. We are all meant to serve Krishna. That is the highest qualification. But those who serve Krishna, they are the humblest. They feel they are really unqualified. That is the mood of serving Krishna. And how should we serve Krishna? Ahaituki apratihata. We serve Krishna without motivation. That is very important. Not that Krishna, I want to serve you, give me a good wife, give me a good, roof over my head. My daughter's O-levels must do well. My son's A-levels must do well. All this is coming, Prabhu's Matajis. Whether you like it or not, it is coming. And with it, all the bad things are also coming. Because of all your karmas. They are coming. You run after the happiness and misery is running after you. Someone should draw this, one day. Because a man is chasing after something very nice, material qualifications. But behind all the effects of his lack of qualification, they are chasing him actually. So Prahlad Maharaj says, come out of this cycle. You just do one thing. Gajayutapaya. You just satisfy Krishna the way Gajendra satisfied Krishna. That's what he's saying. So Padyavali, Rupa Goswami is saying, where was the hunter dharma's piety? In other words, actually if you look from Karmakand, people are always talking about this is pious, this is not pious. Prabhu, someone may call Prashant Prabhu and say, Prabhu, the time you had for this Bhagavatam class is most inauspicious time of the day. You should not fix the time for today. 11 o'clock is not a good time to speak. What will happen now? What will happen if we speak about Bhagavatam in an inauspicious time? Someone will say you'll die. It's very good. Because you're remembering Krishna and dying. What is the problem? You see? There's a vast difference between what we think in Karmakand's idea of piety and the spiritual depth of our bhakti. That is more important. So that's why Rupa Goswami brings up, Dharma may have been impious according to Karmakand and external vision, but actually he was satisfying Krishna. That is Dharma's piety. Second point he brings up, where was Dhruva's maturity? Dhruva Maharaj had no maturity because he was very young boy when he was cursed, is it? When he was scolded by his mother, by his stepmother. What was her name? Suruchi. And he became very upset because he could not sit on his father Uttanapad's lap. And his brother Uttama could sit. So when he went to see his mother, he was actually very, very angry. Kshatriya, he was very angry. And when he went to the forest listening to his mother, he was also after material things. He wanted to be stronger than his father, greater than his brother. That was the lack of his maturity that Rupa Goswami is speaking. But even though he was not mature, even though he was not really up to the standard of a good devotee because of his immaturity, even though he was running after material things, yet Krishna discounted that because he performed devotional service. Krishna discounted Dharma's lack of piety because Dharma was devotional by nature. He discounted the lack of maturity of Dhruva and gave him bhakti instead of giving him what he wanted. That is Dhruva's maturity. Third thing Rupa Goswami brings up, where was Gajendra's knowledge? This is a very nice point. And this Gajendra is actually referred to here, right here, isn't it? It's referred to by Prahlad Maharaj. Gajendra was an elephant. Even though he was Indradyumna Maharaj before in his previous life, he had forgotten everything. You become an elephant, you cannot forget you cannot remember who you were before. He was intoxicated with lust. He walked into that lake thinking he was the greatest with great material qualification. So actually, the greatest disqualification of Gajendra was he had no knowledge of what he was doing. And he was caught by the crocodile. But despite being caught by the crocodile, he came to understand that no one can help him in the material difficulty. And so he prayed to Paraparayanam, the source of all shelters. And because he thought, now I must pray to one who actually is the source of all sources, what did Krishna do? In 831 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna then gave him the intelligence to remember Krishna. No knowledge, but Krishna gave him intelligence. Evam vyavasito buddhya samadhaya namo hridi jajapa paramam japyam Pragjanmani Anushikshitam. What did Gajendra do? Gajendra fixed his mind in his heart with his intelligence. These three things, look at the way he used them. He fixed his mind in his heart with perfect intelligence. How did he do that? He chanted a mantra which he remembered from his previous life by the grace of Krishna. So we may not have knowledge, we may not know all the shlokas, but if you are taking up bhakti, what will happen? Krishna will give you the intelligence. Tesham satata yuktanam vachatam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Krishna will give you the intelligence. Don't worry. Do you know Sanskrit? Many of us don't know Sanskrit actually. I don't even know a single Indian language. I took Malay for second language, for God's sakes. I took Malay as a second language. The only close Malay words with Sanskrit are, in Malay, man means manusya. In Malay, man is manusya. In Malay, cupboard is almari. That's close enough. That's it. Everything else is different. Right? Everything else is different. But even a person who doesn't understand any language, doesn't speak any Indian language, no background to Devanagari, no background to Sanskrit, how is it by Prabhupada's mercy we can study these shlokas? How is it we can know these shlokas? Because we are trying to perform some devotional service. Not much, but some devotional service. So the verse is correct. So he says that where was Hanta Dharma's piety? Number one. Then, where was Dhruva's maturity? Number two. Now third, where was Gajendra's knowledge? And now four, he asked the question, where was Kubja's beauty? Such a nice point. Where was Kubja's beauty, he's asking. Kubja was the most unbeautiful girl. She was so ugly. She was hunched and she looked really bad. But because she wanted to take the sandalwood and serve Krishna instead of Kamsa, she became Miss Mathura. She became the most beautiful maiden. Right? She became so beautiful because Krishna touched her, Brahma Sparshana. He touched her. And when she stood up straight, right, Kubja's beauty was so immense that everyone could not believe it. But was Krishna attracted by her beauty? No. Krishna touched Kubja when she was in the least beautiful state. He was attracted by the beauty of her service. That is Kubja's beauty. So four things now, right? What's the first one? Where was Hanta Dharma's piety? Where was Dhruva's maturity? Where was Gajendra's knowledge? And where was Kubja's beauty? And now Padyavali, Rupa Goswami says, where was Sudama's wealth? Where was Sudama's wealth? Sudama had no wealth. He had no wealth. But he had only one wealth, Bhagavatam tells us. His wealth actually was that he was so peaceful and he was always remembering Krishna. That was his wealth. That was his wealth. His wealth was his satisfaction. I'm very poor. I have no money. No bank account. Nothing except the clothes I wear. But I have Krishna. I have Krishna. That's all. And he did not have Krishna in a proud mood. He did not. In the 10th canto, very famous 10:81:16, he says very nicely, Kwaham daridra papiyan. Who am I? Kwa means who am I? Who am I but a sinner and a poor friend of a Brahmana? He says he's not even Brahmana. When you use the word Brahma Bandhu, it means you are not qualified as Brahmana, but you know a friend who's a Brahmana. Sometimes we think I'm doctor. Really? No, my friend is a doctor. So actually like that I'm doctor. Sometimes people talk like that. Oh, I know the president, so I'm very high up. But you are President Bandhu. You're not president. There's a difference. So he says, Kim kwaham daridra papiyan. Kwa Krishnaha Sriniketana. Who am I, a poor sinful friend of a Brahmana? And who is Krishna? Sriniketana. One who is the Lord of all the six opulences and one who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma Bandhu iti smaham. That's all I am. I am just Brahma Bandhu. But Krishna, Bahubhyam Pari Rambitaha. Krishna is so kind that he has nevertheless embraced me with his two arms. Even though I have no qualification, no wealth, but he has embraced me with his two arms. So what is actually the wealth of Sudama? It is a devotional service. So now we remember again. What is the first one?
Hanta Dharma's
What was Hunter Dharma's piety? Second, what was Dhruva's maturity? Third, Gajendra's knowledge. Fourth, just beauty. And fifth, Sudama's wealth. And sixth, where was Vidura's noble birth? Such a nice point. Where was Vidura's noble birth? Vidurasya. Where was his noble birth? He had no noble birth. In fact, in the third canto, Dhritarashtra says that he is a son of a kept mistress. So much harshness, he used. You are a son of a kept mistress. That's what you are. He had no noble birth. He had no stake to anything. But Yamaraj himself is Vidura. Vidura himself is Yamaraj. And Vidura was a pure devotee of the Lord. And the smartest devotee actually. Because after he heard this insult, he walked away. In Mahabharata, he walked away from the palace. He decided, I've counseled my brother enough, but he's not going to listen. So better I go for a holiday. That's a smart move, right? It's not just a normal holiday, it is a yatra holiday. So he went for all the yatras. Vrindavan now, many people went for yatra, right? He went for a long time. He made sure the yatra was going on during Mahabharata war. So he was completely free of that. Oh, you're fighting? I'm in yatra. That's what he was doing. So he had no noble birth. But noble birth is not the requisite for bhakti. He was the one who came back to actually save his brother Dhritarashtra. Because Dhritarashtra was so clouded in material qualification that he had lost his sense. He had lost his common sense. He had lost his good sanity. Completely gone. And he came back. And he told him such an important point. Evam graheshu saptanam. Right? Pramattanam tadihaya. Atyakraman avinyataha kalaha paramatushtaraha. In the first canto, 13th chapter, he says this point. Brother, what are you doing? Do you not realize that time is avinyataha? Time has this way, it is inconceivable. Avinyata, you can't understand time. But it has another quality, atyakraman. Atyakraman means it overtakes you. Now you see, time is overtaking us, it's running. It's running. You cannot overtake time. Nobody can overtake time. You are always the slowest car on the highway. And time is the fastest car on the highway. It's the Ferrari, it's the Lamborghini, it's the one that's going to just pass you by and you cannot do anything about it. This can only come from a saintly personality. And so what if he was the son of a kept mistress? So what if he had no noble birth? So what are the qualifications we have learned today? First, where was? You see, it's very difficult, our mind is so difficult. Where was Dharma's? Piety. What's the second one? Dhruva's maturity. What's the third one? Gajendra's knowledge. What's the fourth one? Gupta's beauty. What's the fifth one? Sudama's wealth. And what's the sixth one? And the last one is, where was Ugrasena's strength? Where was his chivalrous strength? Ugrasena was supposed to be the father and the head, right, of the Yadu dynasty, Vrishni dynasty, Andhaka dynasty. And yet, right, Kamsa just deposed him and threw him into a prison. Where was his strength? People condemned Ugrasena for that. They say, how come you are not so strong that you cannot stop a usurper like Kamsa? So people condemn him actually. But here in this Padyavali, right, Rupa Goswami is saying all these people whom people have found fault in, Krishna loves these people. Because in the lack of their maturity, they had devotion. In the lack of beauty, right, they had devotion. In the lack of their piety, they had devotion. In the lack of their wealth, they had devotion. In the lack of their knowledge, they had devotion. In the lack of their chivalrous strength, they had devotion. And so, Rupa Goswami says, Lord Madhava is pleased only by devotional service and not by material qualifications. Jai Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai Shla Prabhupada ki. Jai Shla Gurudev ki. Jai Gaura Premanjana. These shlokas, aren't they so beautiful? We just become immersed in them, They are not dry. They are alive. They are alive. All you need to enter these shlokas is just simply perform your nice chanting. Please chant every day. Put aside time for Krishna. Change your lifestyle in such a way that Krishna becomes the center. Not at the end, not as a formality, but as actually the center. That is the key. Take up what Srila Prabhupada gave us. Prabhupada, he distilled all the unnecessary things and he made things very pure, very pure. That's what we should do. And once you take it up, right, you'll find everybody is happy. Yes, children may be a bit young to take it, but give them time. The adults must take it. We must take it up. The children, they have their own destinies. But the fact that they can come and hear about Krishna, that already is the start of their devotional service. Don't worry. Don't be harsh with them. Don't judge them. Don't judge the people next to you. Don't judge the people outside. Don't judge your neighbors. We don't know who is sadhu actually. Somebody walking around like a madman or madwoman could actually be sadhu. And here we are looking nice in tilak and all, nice garland, and we think we are sadhus. But we are not, you see. Very nice. Whoever's coming now is the perfect time to come to the program, right? Yes. I used to ask the host when I was younger, I had no interest in hearing classes. No interest. So every time we had programs, right, when we were young in the 80s, there would be house programs. You do, definitely. You do. But I was reminded of this because I used to call everyone and say, Prabhu, tell me the exact time of the program. How long is the class? Okay, kirtan, okay. Then kirtan time, I will turn up and I'll be there, But I didn't understand that the kirtan is just as effective as the satsang. And satsang is just as effective as kirtan. It doesn't matter which part of the program we come in. All that matters is we came in. That's most important, right? It doesn't matter, In the ship, we are all in the ship, right? We are moving from Singapore to India. Many years ago, my grandmother used to go to India in ship. It would take her 35 days from Singapore to Trivandrum or Singapore to Chennai. And I asked her, what are you doing for 35 days? She said, I'm with my sister, we're just enjoying life. Today, can you imagine planning your trip? You go for yatra for 7 days, you take 30-day trip in a ship. Doesn't make sense. That's why we're flying today. But Prabhupada uses the ship as a very good analogy. He says that when we are going to Krishna, we are all in a ship. This ship is our devotional service, the boat of devotional service. It doesn't matter which part of the ship you're in. Somebody may be captain. Somebody may be cleaning the bottom part of the ship. Someone may be a cook. But the important thing is we're all on the ship. And more important than that is when the ship reaches the shore, right? What does it mean? When the ship reaches there, everybody has reached the destination. Doesn't matter if you're in the toilet and the captain was at the top. Even in toilet, you come out, you say, I have arrived. Captain will come out first and he will say, I have arrived. But through this, you both arrived. So it doesn't matter at which point we come. Just get on the ship. That's the point. That is what we have to do.